Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
Hello, welcome into the GSMC Technology Podcast on a Tuesday here. My name is Tom Doherty, your host. As always, this podcast is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, as we are here to bring you some news and notes from the technology world. Obviously, last week was a big week for us as we had the E3 conference down in Los Angeles. We covered that both days in both shows, talking about all your favorite games and what should be coming from your favorite developers as well in the next year or so. I know 2018, the early 2018 in February. 2019, it's early of next year is going to be a big time for game releases. I know everybody will probably have their pre-orders well before then, but the February 2019 is being deemed that big month for games to be released. All right, especially do want to bring this up quickly and firstly start off. Google actually, this is a technology thing, but it also has to do with us here at the GSMC Technology or GSMC Podcast Network. That Google is creating a standalone podcast app, actually. So for those who are using Android phones who aren't listening through the Apple Podcast, but maybe listening through Castbox or one of the other podcast apps offered to the Google Store, the Google Play Store, they will now be coming out with a standalone podcast app called Google Podcasts. And I'm sure you'll just be doing the same thing you'd be doing with the other apps and finding us with the GSMC tag. And, just type in that acronym and you'll find us. Golden State Media Podcasts, the GSMC Technology Podcast is this guy, but we have tons of other ones if you are interested in other stuff, from book clubs to Bible study to sports to relationships, entertainment, all that kind of stuff we have here on the GSMC Podcast Network. And now those Google Podcasts will be kind of consolidating all that stuff for those who are Android users out there. And whether having to use whether you're, like I said, you're using that Castbox app or whatever you're using to find your podcasts on your Android phones, you can just go to the Google Podcast app now. That kind of it's the same thing as the Apple Podcasts now, where it's all in one location, which is nice and easy to find. All right, going into the show today, I do want to bring up. Obviously, we're going to recap the E3 conference, talk about some of those games that are going to be coming out in February as well. Also, the Fortnite has a new patch. The 4.4 update is out, including a couple different interesting additions that I want to get to, as well as that Vivo phone. Did we talk about that? I think I talked about that a little bit a couple weeks ago. That phone in China that's coming out that has that recessed camera. It has no notch, no bezel, no nothing, no touch. It's the full screen actually. Is a touch sensor to put your finger on. So the whole screen you could it'll give a little box at least in the middle of the screen. And then the selfie camera, the front facing camera actually is recessed in the top of the phone and will pop out motorized camera style and will pop up from the top of the camera. That's the one. That's if there was one big red flag for those kind of phones, I think it's going to be it's definitely a idea to kind of combat the whole notch situation we have going on right here, right now, which I think honestly the notch is fine. You're already seeing the Google Pixel 3s coming out with a notch. The Google Pixel Plus or 3 Plus, whatever they're calling it, is going to have, or Google Pixel 3 XL, or I think that's what they're calling it, is going to have the notch as well. But with this Vivo Nex, which is you guys are watching the FIFA World Cup, you'll see that they're heavily advertising as well up there in the matches in Russia, at least on the video boards around the field. But this Vivo Nex phone, I did watch a tutorial of it, and the guy who was doing the tutorial, going through all this, or a review at least of it, I'm sure you can go find a review of it on YouTube, is concerned over this recessed camera, this pop-up camera that every single time. So, I mean, how many times do you with Snapchat these days, Instagram, all these people taking all these selfie sticks and everything. We take selfies all the time now, and we're used to it having just the camera right into the front of the phone. Boom, click, snap, 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 all these pictures. Every single time you're going to do that now, you're going to have to do this little, that was my noise for the camera coming out of the phone. Coming out of the phone at the top of the phone every single time. I mean, that's thousands of actions every time. And I mean, this is when it's a mechanical kind of situation where not just the camera functions mechanical, but the actual getting the camera up and able to be used is mechanical too, to push that thing out of the phone. The little section on the top phone. It actually looks pretty cool when the guy did it, but I don't know. It's just that always kind of leads to problems or leads to issues in the future, whether it's things getting jammed or motors stopped working, and then all of a sudden you can't take a picture with the front of your phone, and you're gonna have to start dealing with that stuff, because people don't want that to happen. I mean, they want to be able to use their phones at the onset of for the entire use of their device. All right. Getting into the E3 stuff, I know that we do have to, like I said, forget 2018. 2019, February is when the blockbuster games are going to be coming out. We're going to be seeing, I think my biggest, big is the Red Dead Redemption, obviously. This is going to be, obviously, this is going to be making way. Obviously, Red Dead Redemption has been long in the works. Obviously, I think Resident Evil 2 remake is going to be coming out early 2019, as they did have to. It's going to be January 25th, 2019. That's going to be Xbox One, PC, and PlayStation 4 for Resident Evil 2, the remake of that. Kingdom Hearts 3, which we see are going to be getting an addition of some Pixar characters, and it looks like in Kingdom Hearts 3 we're going to see Woody, Buzz, and Rex from Toy Story getting added into the Kingdom Hearts 3, which is going to be coming up. It's going to be on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. I know we talked about a lot with the some of these crossover games. They're going to be probably being sold for both consoles. We're going to be coming out with the next generation of console. These ones aren't quite yet. We're not quite there with Kingdom Hearts 3, which I'm now seeing has we're seeing Olaf from what's that, from Frozen. That's gonna be January 29th, 2019. Obviously, all your favorite Disney characters in there as well. Another game that we're being deemed, I won't quite call it a blockbuster quite yet, but this is, if you guys, for those who are fans of Mass Effect or Dragon Age, this is a game called Anthem. It's going to be coming out. This is from EA as they come out with this game. This is going to be February 22nd of 2019, as this will be another cool game, kind of like Destiny, where it's going to be played a lot online, focusing on grouping up and going on missions with friends or fellow players online. And you're going to have the ability to, whether it's flying through the air, kind of like Iron Man style, we're seeing whenever you want, as well as this is going to be a big push on exploration and such as well. Crackdown is another game. It's actually going to be starring Terry Crews. This is Crackdown 3, the second one. It's been delayed for a few times, but now we have another release date. This is again February 22nd, 2019. It's becoming a popular date, but this is a series that has credited mobility as a popular thing, making it popular. Obviously, big explosions are another addition that we like to see here. Obviously, if you watch that E3 gameplay, the trailer they played, you saw Terry Crews heavily in action there. But I don't know if Terry Crews, the actor Terry Crews, he's in a lot of different stuff. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, for example. But this is a third-person open-world game, and when you put a big thing on mobility, you want to definitely have the map. And it looks like in this third installment, we see no differences in the big explosions and bigger maps in order to have that exploration feature work well. Another one, February 22nd, is going to be Metro Exodus, the series. This is going to be another series where you've been in tunnels for a long time, underground subway tunnels for the previous games. Now we're going to be on a higher ground, as This is going to be another one where it's seemingly post-apocalyptic, and it's going to be, as obviously you were down in subterranean levels for quite a while, and now you're finally able to come out of there. Obviously, nuclear radiation's a deal with no resources and such after this post-apocalyptic. After some sort of apocalyptic event, if I could speak out correctly, has happened, and now you'll be rummaging around the higher ground, and hopefully probably dealing with some pretty gruesome things. Looking at Metro Exodus. Another one, Days Gone. That's another game. Same thing, February 22nd, 2019 on PlayStation 4. That Metro Exodus, that's available on both consoles, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and PC as well. So, but this next one's solely PlayStation 4. This is this is Days Gone game is interesting. As we see, I don't know, I'm a Sons of Anarchy fan, so I like that anarchy, anything goes kind of thing, almost like what you see in Grand Theft Auto, where you can pretty much do whatever you want. But this is kind of almost a biker where you're going to be dealing with some sort of pandemic, and it's kind of 28 days later where you're having an outbreak of some sort, and people are turning into, whether it's zombies or something like that. So I don't know if this game is going to be really getting into the whole zombie idea of it, but it looks like that maybe it's going to be more of a deal where you're going to be outrunning the environment, and whether it's going to be the zombies, and it's going to be the fact that you're going to have to deal with flooding, tsunamis, and stuff like that. So it's not just going to be individual actual beings coming after you. You're going to deal with the elements as well. And this one as well is you're going to have your motorcycle. You always have the way to get away with that. And of course, your character's wearing that leather cut he's part of a motorcycle club. That's where you get that Sons of Anarchy comparison as well. It's pretty cool. I talked about this game. The next one up is March 15th, 2019. Talked about this game in the last show, Division 2. I like Division 1. Division 1's really cool. It came out along with I think it was like an hour-long live-action episode kind of thing where they gave you a preview of what was going on with real actors and everything. It was really really nice, really well done. As it was this kind of same thing. We're getting into a outbreak area, pandemic kind of situation where now these sleeper agents are being activated, and you have to go and fight alongside or fight against this kind of pseudo government that's kind of take over through this pandemic situation in New York City. As now in Division 2, you'll be going to, looks like Washington D.C. to deal with the same kind of thing as you're going to be dealing with this third-person game, dealing with bad guys as well as you would be in the first Division game but this time in Washington, D.C., as you'll be working with this cooperative play, much like Destiny, much like that Anthem game, where it's not just lone wolf and you're in a team. They want you to get your buddies with you or play online with people and play as a team to execute certain missions throughout the game. So that's pretty cool there as well. Another game for early 2019. Haven't gotten quite a date there, just an early 2019 quote on this game. This is a game that's been created by those who created the Dark Souls series, also Demon Souls, whether Dark Souls, Demon Souls. This is another game called Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. As we get into this kind of game where it's going to be set in feudal Japan, actually, which sounds pretty cool, as you're going to be a ninja going out kind of as a vigilante out for justice kind of deal, where you're going to be taking out many characters with your stealth mode kind of thing. It's kind of a crossover, I think, between, like they said, those Dark Souls games almost, and maybe a little bit of Assassin's Creed noted in there. So you'll have a lot of mobility and a major stealth component added on with your character. Another one, Devil May Cry 5 is coming out. That's going to be, we've heard a ballpark is end of March kind of thing. So before end of March, as we'll have this Devil May Cry 5 as a third-person action game. It looks really nice. Lots of slick lines. Looks really cool in the E3 preview of it, as we did see this really cool deep fighting system, and first trailer was really nice, as we get lots of flying demons and lots of jumps in the air and punching on a large scale here on this one, as we saw a lot of cool graphics and well made fight combinations for this one. Obviously, lots of different settings you can make there as well. All right, that'll wrap up this first segment as we kind of just recap a couple different games I didn't get to last week during E3 week, and I did talk about those ones are all coming out early 2019, so we have a lot of time, obviously, before they do, but those trailers were pretty darn cool to watch during the presentations last week down in LA. So we'll come back and do some talk on some new phones. I know we've heard some stuff regarding the Galaxy Note, and obviously we'll do a little more talk on the Vivo Nex, as well as this whole mechanized camera popping out of your phone as well. So we'll see if we're going towards that. Well, we don't know. I don't think it's going to be that sticky because it's going to be. We don't like mechanics, and mechanics have a tendency to moving parts have a tendency to stop moving at a certain point. So just people wear and tears too much. All right, we'll talk about more when we come back after the break. Stay tuned.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
All right, welcome back to GSMC Technology Podcast, segment number 2 today, as we're going to talk about some phone stuff for you on the show today. As this is getting to the point now, June, or a couple months away from all the releases of the new phones, so everything's kind of leaking out and becoming available to talk about here and there. Obviously, we have to look at some of the stuff. Obviously, the new Galaxy, there's leaks, and like I said, leaks always come out periodically, so we have to talk about them as we go along here. But I think that the next thing to get to is that Galaxy Note 9, and how the leak obviously is going to show us what we're going to be looking at coming in the fall. But it does look like it's going to be a nice little design. We have a leak of the of the screen panel, and showing you that there are a couple black bars at each side, at each end. Doesn't go bottom to top. Does very close to the edge to edge with almost no bezel. There is a little bit of there are top and bottom bezels though, as we have looking like it's going to be a curved. More of a curved side of the screen, kind of ignoring those, trying to get rid of those bezels on the side. Obviously, those curved infinity display, as they call it. We saw something similar with the Galaxy Note 8, as well as the fact that they're going to be increasing the display from 6.3 to 6.38 inches. So you're getting a whole 0.08 hundredths of an inch more on these new phones that are going to be released. I don't know. They have a release date for the Galaxy Note 9 yet. I know that most of the phones are going to be we're going to be seeing obviously in September, but it looks like that we're going to have a press event August 8th, as well as we're going to have the end of August. We'll have the shelves being in stock with the Galaxy Note 9. This is kind of their. I mean, we don't see, like we know we saw the iPhone Plus was the thing. So it's all about the iPhone 8 Plus or the iPhone 7 Plus or 6 Plus or whatever you had or have. The Galaxy Note has been kind of their plus. I mean, these things are huge. So obviously, these phones are quite large, and they're getting. I think we're going to be seeing wireless capability with the charging, just as much as we would see from the new iPhones and from the iPhones we saw last year. The iPhone 8 and iPhone 10 both have the ability to have wireless charging, which then, of course, begs the question: is Apple going to get rid of the headphone, the jack, all of a sudden, altogether as well? Maybe not. Probably not this year. Obviously, that'd be quite a big jump. But I bet you in the next, probably by next year, 2019, when it's going to be the iPhone 11 or whatever their iPhone is going to come out next time. But or iPhone 12. I guess the 11 is this year, isn't it? We're going to be seeing probably the elimination of that port. We're probably not going to see any ports on the bottoms of the phone. It's going to be a rectangular brick, basically, with no holes in it, as maybe just the speakers and the microphones. But we're not. Yeah, that's not. So I'm not surprised, because we're getting to a point here where that's kind of a functionality where it's a problem with whether it's water damage or something. I know we're trying to get to these waterproof phones. I think the 8 and the 10 are waterproof, but I think even the 7 Plus is waterproof. That was a big deal for them. Oh, minor waterproof, not quite. Like, I wouldn't don't go dunking it in the bottom of your pool or anything. But yeah, getting rid of that headphone. Well, got rid of the headphone jack already, which is a big deal. And I remember Apple was like, "Oh, this is a idea that was better for us," and we were just thinking, we did it to see if we had the balls to do it. Basically, I mean, was what they were saying regarding taking off the headphone jack, and now coming into a place where they're going to give you the adapters and everything, but it's just better to have wireless headphones these days. You don't have to go looking for that little piece of rubber. You don't have to deal with cords or anything. It's better to have wireless headphones. I'm probably going to have to do that eventually on the show. Maybe Thursday I'll do a review of some of the wireless headphones that are on the market right now. I know they're not cheap, but you can find good quality ones these days now for better prices out there. As it's not just Beats or Bose. There's plenty of other companies that actually make great sounding wireless headphones and sound just as good as they are when they're plugged in. But regarding the iPhones, and the new Galaxy Notes, I mean, everybody kind of falls in line. Obviously, we have the reports out saying that we don't see there's no notch in the Galaxy Note 9. We know that, but there's a notch on the Google Pixel 3 and 3 Plus or 3 XL, whatever it's going to be called, the large one. Getting into that notch, and now obviously then is the notch going to be replaced by the mechanical camera? I think honestly, I think the notch looks really good on the iPhone 10. It looks really, really cool. The fact that you have that information, because we're still going to have our charging. You still have your charging or what you're at, your battery percentage. I mean, right now, like, see, if I look at my phone, I have all this information I have on the top of the screen, because I have a iPhone 7 Plus right now. So I don't have a notch, but say you do have a notch, so you have the time in the middle, 9:30. They move that over us a little bit, but up in those notches, you have still room for your whatever your carrier is. So for me, I have the bars. It says Verizon and LTE, and then that's the time. Then I have location services, my alarm thing, because I have a set alarm, and then Bluetooth and the battery percentage and the battery little bar thing. So all that fitting up in those little notches, I think it actually looks pretty nice. And then having that notch there instead of this big black bar I have sitting on top of my phone, that's for the camera and the microphone, is I think it looks pretty cool. And I'm excited for the iPhone 10 Plus, honestly. And that's something I might be thinking about having to go buy this fall, because I think it's going to look a lot better. And whether they're trying to get towards this full screen phones and everything and going towards the mechanical cameras. I mean, yeah, go look at the tutorial for that the Vivo Nex. Yeah, it looks cool. It looks really cool. And if they can get it where it works every single time I really want to watch it. I mean, I don't have time to do that, but I want to watch a video where they retract and put, what is it? I mean, have the camera go in and out 1,000 times, like in a row. Like, show it to me. Do it as many times as you can until it breaks. Like, seriously, because I feel like it's going to come down to it where that's going to be wear and tear issues. It's not going to go back into the phone. It's not going to pop out of the phone. It's going to get jammed. It's going to get stuff on it. People are not the best with their phones. I mean, I have a big fact. Now we're going to have to see new cases probably come out with the little hole in the top of it for the camera to pop out of. I mean, so because everybody's going to have their case. So that's going to be interesting. I don't think we're going to see any of the big companies going that way anytime soon. I know Apple does really want to get to the full screen phone. They're going to, like I said, getting rid of the lightning cable port at the bottom of it, where we're now getting wireless charging. We're going to get wireless. We already have the cloud, so a lot of the data retrieval and data transferring is already wireless. So, I mean, I know that I like the security of having that port in the bottom, just in case there is a problem with the wireless capabilities, to be able to plug it in and have it connected to a computer or and such. So I do like that, but I think that the fact that we have this port is just another thing for Apple, another thing for them to just knock right off. We'll see if the Samsung wants to go that way as well. Obviously, with the Androids, we have a lot of different developers with their own models and own ideas. Whether they follow in the footsteps of Apple and then of Google as well, we'll see. But right now, it looks like they're focused on trying to get. Well, at least Samsung is trying to get this Galaxy Note out and trying to get the whole Galaxy S8 problems out of the way, and maybe get it towards the Galaxy S9 and the Galaxy S10 as well, that we'll be seeing in the future. Moving on to the next, I do want to go over a little bit more with the iOS. I know Apple. I did want to go over the iOS stuff. I did want to do that. Save that for probably for the next segment a little bit before we come back to the Fortnite stuff for the final segment. I do want to get in. I know I'm seeing more and more reports regarding the mechanical camera sliders. I mean, there's also another idea where it's not just going to be a little like rectangle. If you watch that Vivo Nex video, the camera is very small. It's like it's like maybe smaller than your fingernail, and it pops out of the top of the thing. We also have an idea where the whole back of the phone slides up, and has the camera on the back of the phone, basically they're going to have two separate slideys. Whether it's going to be half the phone that's kind of cut off and just pops up the little top section of the back of your phone, and then in there is the camera, or it's going to be the whole back of your phone. So that actually looks kind of cool. I see a video here of this. This actually is a new phone called the Oppo Find X that has this elevation slider on the back of it, where you just slide the phone and it pops out of the top of the phone there. But it's, again, mechanical cameras are going to be an issue. I think they're already being deemed this is a cool idea, but it's also a pretty bad idea. Cool, terrible idea of 2018. And then obviously we're going to find something different. I think it's going to be having to do with either getting a screen that can display images and then be able to have a two-way function for the camera to be laid underneath the screen and be shot through the screen. So once they get to that point, we're going to have to deal with these sliding cameras. I know the Vivo X is a very small little camera part that pops out, but this looks like the Oppo Find X. So it looks like the phone, and in the middle of the phone has a little part so it's just about the top third of the phone pops up a little bit out of the middle. The back and the front stay stationary, but there's a little middle part that pops up out of there. So I would recommend going and looking at the Oppo Find X, and they have little GIFs and videos of what it looks like. Also some pictures of what that is going to look like. Obviously, we're going to have it's for the main camera as well. The back of that phone pops up, or the middle of the phone pops up. It looks like the back case, hard panel does stay stationary, but the whole top edge slides up about, it looks like half an inch or so in that movement. So whether we're going to get, like I said, the sliders or the little pop-up cameras or whatever it's going to be, I don't think it's going to last very long. I think it's going to be just a kind of a crimple up the ball and throw it away, because there's too many people, number one, there's too many selfies being taken, number two, and there's too much room for error. You can't do that. You can't have that. So it only takes one or two or three or four cameras to jam and not pop up, and then no pictures for you. And it looks like that Oppo X is not even the back; it's the back camera too. So if it doesn't slide up, then you're not going to be able to take a front camera picture either. So it's not even every selfie you take; it's every picture you take in general. It's going to be a mechanical movement. Actually, I like the way that one worked. The Oppo Find X. The movement of the camera is a little more, since it's the entire phone sliding up, it seems a little more functional than that little small mechanical movements can be very tedious, and they're not only tedious, they're hard to fix too. So that looks like that the Vivo Nex, that little camera that pops up for it is very, like I said, it's the size of your fingernail, your pinky maybe even. That it slides up and it's super small, versus that the other phone I was talking about, the Oppo Find X, is the whole the whole length of the phone pops up. So maybe a little more functional with the fact that it can do that. All right. That'll wrap it up for this segment, as we did do a little talk on the various phones out there. Obviously, that slidey function is going to be probably by the wayside pretty soon here, as we'll get on to another thing. Obviously, leave it to. I mean, we're not seeing it anywhere in the United States. We're not seeing it much. It's funny that we're already seeing that the World Cup is jumping right on these advertisements. If they got money, they'll throw it around. Those advertisers will, especially for an event like the World Cup, which is in full swing now. All right, we'll come back, and there's technology to talk about in the World Cup as well, goal line technology. No, just kidding. We'll come back and do some talk on Apple and some more functions we're going to be seeing when they roll out iOS 12 in the fall, and we'll talk about that when we come back, so stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, welcome back to GSMC Technology Podcast here on a Tuesday, first show of the week, as we'll come back on Thursday and do a little more talk with the gaming stuff as well as Fortnite. Always, that's one thing about Fortnite. You gotta love Fortnite. You always got stuff to talk about. They always have new things being added to the game, new updates and patches as well for those gamers out there playing Fortnite. I mean, when you have that many gamers, dedicated daily gamers online, you better evolve a little bit. I mean, not everything is Call of Duty, or I mean, they have downloadable content as well in there too, but when you're a game that's played over the internet like that, it's definitely a good idea to add features to your game as often as possible. So it looks like that's going to be happening again. It has happened again, as the new patch, I think it's 4.4, has been available, has been announced as well. So we'll be talking about that in a second. And obviously, like we're talking about the iOS 12 and some of these big features to come out with that one. We did talk about that last week a little bit with the fact that they're coming out with these screen time stuff, trying to keep people aware of how much they're using their phones. It's going to be a big deal, honestly, as well as, I mean, as much as people are getting pulled from both ends. So there's always the healthy advocate. Okay, yeah, don't use your phone. Stay away from the apps for a certain amount of time. Now we're obviously going to be able to lock ourselves out of apps and set time limits for every app and such like that. So it'll notify you when you're running out of time and allotment. Similar. This will be similar on Android P as well. So for Android users out there, same thing for you. But then also, while this is happening, we're at the time where we're having the most content available on your phones as any time in history. I mean, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. I mean, everything is being streamed these days. Cord cutting is at its highest time right now. YouTube TV, everything is getting into a point now where these broadcast companies, whether it's or content creation companies, whether it's, like I said, ESPN or Fox Sports, Fox News, NBC, MSNBC, all the big networks, some of the cable ones, TNT, all these things are getting more. I know, obviously, we did have the AT&T was actually allowed to complete their This is relevant. I'm not just going on a tangent. AT&T did actually complete their deal with Time Warner Cable to acquire them. So now AT&T actually has the HBO as part of Time Warner Cable. So they have their rights to that and are going to be able to start stream. Well, HBO has a streaming service already as well. So everything is kind of going that way where... whether AT&T's like, are we going to get rid of that kind of stuff? Are we going to make people actually watch it on TV or go on their watch it on their TVs or on their set top boxes on AT&T, or that we don't care, we're still getting the money anyways if they pay for the subscription through HBO Now or not, or HBO Go, or through Comcast or whatever may have you. Obviously now that we talked about it a little bit ago, with the fact that there was another deal that was impending based off of this first deal, and that was the swoopage by Comcast, right? I'm trying to remember what was the deal here. Oh yeah, it was 21st Century Fox was all their rights and a lot of their content was up for sale, as Disney was going to try and purchase that, a big bulk of their stuff, and then Comcast swooped in with a bigger offer, and then now with this AT&T deal being allowed to go through with Time Warner Cable for the acquisition there to go through, you're going to be able to have this Comcast purchase be made as well, probably, because that was kind of the linchpin waiting on it. People are like, why are you doing this now? Obviously, Sprint is going to be, I think, combined with T-Mobile as well, so we're getting into a point here where I think people are, now we're going to get three telecommunications companies, 3 cell phone carriers instead of 4. No, I think we're now going to get, it used to be 1A and 1B, AT&T and Verizon, and then there was Sprint and T-Mobile as the second tier, 2A and 2B. Now we're going to get 1, 2, 3, a real 1, 2, 3, a real 1ABC, where it's going to be Verizon, AT&T, and Sprint. So everybody's kind of coming together. Obviously, Verizon is part of Comcast. So everything. Obviously, those anti-monopoly situations. But as long as there's more than one, they're going to be competing against each other, and they're going to be competing hard. Hopefully, there's no collusion. That's the one thing that we have to worry about, is collusion, and them kind of ganging up together and saying, let's just raise the prices together, instead of competing with each other to maybe make it more affordable for those out there who want the services or who are already using their services. Back to the TV. With this TV stuff, and this is all based off of my let's talk about the screen time function now on our phones, because your phones are turning into these big phones. The Samsung Galaxy Note I just talked about, or the iPhone 10 Plus is going to come out in September, are basically mini TV screens. Same thing with the iPads. That's why there's no cord connected to it. We're cutting the cord, because you can stream every single thing you watch on TV on your phones these days. And that's why we have these screen time. I think that's not why directly, but it's a good reason why we have these screen time apps to police, or to help us keep more our usage down, basically keep our habits where they are, or help us create better habits when it comes to turning off our phones, putting them away. I had a problem where literally my phone was next to me, almost connected to my arm for about a week and a half straight, and then I was like, I just need to put this down. I would have it charged next to me. I would make sure that the charger was plugged in next to me where I was sitting, so the phone would plug in and charge while I was using it, or I was sitting next to me. Now I was like, nope, we're going to let it charge over there on the counter. I'm going to sit over here across the... I'm not going to even let the phone bother me. Not going to let it take away my attention. I'm doing something here. And it actually helps a lot. It kind of opens up your horizons, and, it actually helps you notice some things that you might not notice when your head's down your screen. We're getting to a point now where I know I honestly have to be... I do these shows, and then I also work in a restaurant, managing a restaurant as well with my family, and from time to time, and it's weird going to tables and seeing people just down on their phones, just looking at their phones, not looking at each other. You guys went out to dinner together, but you're just going to go look at your phones. Believe me, I do it too. I'm bad. I'm a culprit. I'm worse at it too. So these screen apps, these screen time things, are going to be helping us, giving us reminders on, okay, you've been using this app for 3 hours today combined. You might not notice it, but 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, 30 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Oh, all of a sudden that's 3 hours over a 24-hour period. So now a big chunk of your day has been dedicated to one app, or maybe even one or two apps, and you'll be giving that. So I think even you'll be having parental controls as well. So that's going to be helpful. That's a whole other conversation we can have on the show regarding children and how this new generation of kids. Whether it's Generation X was us and the millennials, and then I don't know what the next generation that the tagline is going to be for it, but maybe it can be nose in the phone or the screen, the screen age, or whatever you want to call it, because that's what all these kids are. I mean, I've seen babies, 2-3 years old kids having cell phones in their hands to help them, or not help them, but at least help their parents be more have more time and not be as sidetracked by the kid. Give the kid a little, hey, leave me alone, here's the phone kind of situation here. But I think that now we're getting into a point where it's going to be second nature, and hopefully these screen time apps can help us get back to where it was, where we can have a happy medium between the phones and our daily lives, which, of course, I say daily life, and then people go, oh, well, the phone's part of my daily life. I'm a social media person. That's what I do for a living. I'm on my phone. I mean, yeah, it's great. I know people who have two phones because they have one for work and one for their life, because there's too much stuff. They don't want to combine it. So it's just very interesting how these things are going to be transpiring in front of our eyes. The new devices are going to be a big part of it. New software is going to be a big part of it. I know another feature on the iPhones this fall are going to be the Memojis, making everything. Obviously, we talked about the group FaceTiming as well. It's going to be pretty cool. Also, the measuring. The measuring app for me, I talked about that last time. I actually was really excited when I saw this. I'm like, oh, I got to talk about this. This measuring app is going to be really cool. Not that I'm like, oh, I need to measure things. I just like, if you ever wonder how big something is, like if you have where's the measuring tape? Can my TV fit into this nook or whatever? Nope. Just take your phone out and it'll measure it for you. Which is pretty cool. So they have that available with the measuring app. But hopefully you have to hand it to Apple. I mean, it's not their business really to be like, hey, you should use our devices less. You think it'd be in their best interest to have us use it more, but maybe it's gotten too rapid fire, like I said, where parents are handing their kids their phones or getting babies iPads to sidetrack them. I mean, if you can do it, hopefully for some sort of learning device, it'd be great. I know we're getting into a point here where even technology companies or gaming companies are trying to get us back using our hands for more dexterous things, whether it's the Nintendo Labo, and which actually I've seen reports out. There was actually something today out about the Nintendo Labo saying that the Nintendo chief thinks that it's actually going to go even further with some of these things that are being made by people out there, some of these tutorials that they have to be built just to build things out of straight cardboard, out of crafts. I mean, I didn't think arts and crafts would get so technical, but it actually has, as we're going to be getting probably more and more stuff from Nintendo as we get into these the Labo. It does expand further. More stuff with the Apple with the iOS. I do want to go over. I didn't quite get to everything last time we were when we were talking about the updates with iOS 12 coming out. Obviously, we did talk about with Siri being available to be used as an assistant for more apps. A lot more third-party, a lot of the third-party apps will now be able to build shortcuts for Siri, as you can. I talked about the tile tracking app, where you can say, "Hey Siri, I lost my keys," and she'll go into the tile app and starts tracking your keys for you. There is a new shortcuts app that actually is going to be pretty cool one. It's going to be pretty nice. This is going to be dedicated to getting users to use this the Siri request. Obviously, you can go in and whether it's toggling to have Siri send messages for you, and having single triggers as you're going to have shortened requests for Siri, and she'll do something for you even sooner. This is kind of the same thing as we're seeing with the Amazon Alexa and with Google. As you have these shortcuts being trained, you can just train the device to do something based off of a quick little hey, grab or order my lunch or order my coffee or call. Well, I mean, the calling is already kind of done, but I mean, make a reservation at this place or something like that. We'll see even that is going to be capable as well. Whether it's going to be making, I mean, these days you rarely, unless the restaurant doesn't have like Yelp or OpenTable, you can make a reservation actually with OpenTable at a lot of different restaurants without even having the duplex or whatever your AI is calling them. The thing can do it with just the app, and what their Siri, I think I'm sure OpenTable would be a great app for a Siri to have expanded capabilities. Whether you can just tell Siri, hey Siri, go on OpenTable and get me a table for 4 at 7 o'clock at Spaghetti Factory or something like that or whatever, and she'll do it for you. All right. We'll come back with some more stuff. I do want to talk about CarPlay is getting Google Maps and Waze actually. So for the in-car, for those in-car platforms, they'll be adding Google Maps. I know that a lot of when you have like app, or whether it was called for the cars, they have the play news or play stuff that you plug in your phone, and they'll just take your phone and play it right on the screen. Is pretty cool as well. So we're getting into more stuff with the iPhone, and then do also some talk on Fortnite as well, as we'll come into this final segment and finish up the show with more updates and news for you. So stay tuned.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, welcome back. Final segment of the day today here on GSMC Technology Podcast. Did get to some stuff on the new iOS 12. We talked about that a little bit on the last few shows, but I do want to get into some more stuff as we have a new rebuilt stocks app in iOS 12, as Apple is actually putting remaking that stock app. It's uploaded on. It's already on every phone. It's going to be coming to the iPad as well, as it'll be helping out you who are interested in knowing where your favorite stocks are trading at the certain times, as it'll be supporting after hours prices now, and will integrate content from the Apple News that will be whatever is relevant to the current company that you're looking at a point. Voice memos are now going to be syncing from your iPads as well, and they're going to be available across your devices. So if you, like, say you record something on your phone but you need it on a different device, you can pull it up through iCloud sharing. The new iBooks will now become Apple Books, as the new iPhones will be coming out with the new iOS 12 loaded on them, as there will be a new bookstore tab that will allow you to browse the newest titles and charts, as well as certain collections and offers that Apple have curated for you, and it'll be called Apple Books as iBooks goes by the wayside. All right, I do want to actually get to some stuff that is actually on my is technology. It's kind of human rights and everything. Technology, obviously, we're dealing with some stuff regarding the immigrants down on the border, with families being separated and children being taken from their mothers and fathers, and it's not the greatest thing that to be seeing. And as we do have to, Facebook has not been in the greatest news, but we do have to give them credit for being able to still be the platform that people need and people want to use as well. I mean, we've already seen a a couple in California actually have already raised over $4 million via a Facebook fundraiser for these families down there at the borders. I mean, we've already seen I advise you to go look at some of these just for general interest, to be aware of what's going on down there. I mean, these are Walmarts being turned into processing centers. These are huge stores and buildings that are being filled with children that are being taken from their families. As of course we do have that. We have this various pictures and such with we have different people with seeking asylum and looking for safe homes. Obviously, this is a couple by the name of Charlotte and Dave Wilner, as they have started their campaign after they saw an image of a girl who was away from her mother. She was being detained at the border. But, I mean, this goal was originally supposed to be $1,500. I mean, it was supposed to be for one person, but now it's ballooned up to quite a lot of money, and be a good cause, going to obviously a good cause down there, trying to help some of our fellow humans and for some of those who are looking for a better life. I know it's a little bit of a downer note. Obviously, we have to include some of this stuff with being when we have some of our favorite technology and favorite social media platforms being used, obviously for good. I want to give Facebook the credit for being a platform to be able to use. Tim Cook also came and said, as he's come out, and of course been talking about, this topic's been talked about in the media for quite a while with this issue going down south right now, as Tim Cook has already been asked about it and has been called out to talk about it. And he said that these borders, these separations down there are quote inhumane, and that they need to stop. I mean, that's pretty, I'm not saying, Tim, yes, great take, Tim. That does need to happen. As he was in Dublin, actually, during the questions, as he was asked by the Irish Times, as he again quoted and said, "It's heartbreaking to see the images and hear the sounds of the kids. Kids are the most vulnerable people in any society. I think what's happening is inhumane. It needs to stop." I mean, this is just one of the CEOs from a top tech company to come out and say, is that Microsoft and Airbnb have both put out strong disagreement with the policy pushed down by our president last week. So this is not just Tim Cook. It's not just the Microsoft and people from Airbnb. This is a lot of different people. This is a national outcry from citizens, politicians, leaders from all over the place who have criticized the Trump administration. I mean, I don't really talk about politics too much, but I mean, when our technology companies, when our favorite, like I said, Facebook is being used to graciously raise money for some of these people down there, we do like to bring it up, and this is a big issue that's going on. Tim Cook has really been involved in human rights campaigns and such like that. So definitely been a big component in that. He's also been working with Trump and has actually urged Trump to remain in the Paris Climate Agreement. Obviously, that did not work out with the deal with the greenhouse gases and such with global warming. But as far as it goes with Tim Cook, we'll see what kind of power he can get. He's also quoted in saying that we've always felt everyone should be treated with dignity and respect. In this case, it's not happening. This one in particular is just heartbreaking and tragic. He said also that the company will engage with the White House and hope to be an advocate to help the point of view. As Cook continues saying that I've spoken with him several times on several issues, and I've found him to listen. I haven't found that he will agree on all things, though. So Tim Cook does have the ear of the president. He does listen sometimes, but doesn't listen all the times. That's what we've been seeing now. That's been kind of the case with President Trump in his time now as our nation's leader. This has been one of the black marks on his resume, is now we're getting Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, getting involved again, as he's been a name that we've seen actually a lot being connected with Donald Trump. And like I said, back in 2015 Paris Accords, that he was trying to urge Trump to stay involved in. So he's been around and has been trying to steer the president the right way, and also steer one of the biggest tech companies in the world the right way as well. We talk about them quite a bit. I do want to talk about a little bit more with the Fortnite stuff. I didn't really get down to Fortnite quite yet, as obviously we did have the that patch come out with the stink bombs. Actually, talk about stink bombs. I mean, yeah, it's a major stink bomb going down in Mexico with that. Some of the news we're getting down there from those families, poor families, getting unfortunately separated from their children, and just not good stuff we want to hear about. But unfortunately, that's what we're dealing right now. As far as the Fortnite stuff, I will go into the stuff, obviously, the stuff with the patch notes in just a moment here. I just saw there was a report from Forbes. Actually, one of their staff writers has just written a article saying I'll be using Xbox instead of PS4 for all my online gaming going forward. I'm sure this is actually in response to the fact that I talked about this last week, that now that Sony is not allowing Fortnite users to sign into their accounts. If you made a Fortnite account with Sony on your PlayStation 4, you can't use that account to sign in to play with your friends on an Xbox One or on a Nintendo Switch, which it just became available on Nintendo Switch, the Fortnite game. Obviously, a big deal for a lot of gamers out there with hopes to play with their friends on different consoles, or for those who own both a PlayStation and a Nintendo Switch, as I've told you, 40% of them do. That's not just a small problem, it's a big problem. And now we're already seeing people saying, oh, I'm using Xbox One from now on for online games. All right. As far as the patch notes go with the newest Fortnite update, the stink bombs obviously are a big deal. The launch will be coming soon. With that, we do of course like to go through. I think they did say the patch 4 is available now. Is it available now? Yeah. So they actually did announce it. The server downtime was from 1 a.m. Pacific time to 4 p.m. Eastern time to this morning. So that's over. And now update 4 will be available for download as we speak now. So you guys can go out and do that, as we'll have those stink bombs and the in-game updates as well. That's one of them. They'll also have the sniper shootout LTM is going to be ending soon, as well as the Twitch Prime pack we're going to have as well as available. Everybody's been seeing that as one of the new update windows in front when you do start as well. I mean, this is the first one, also first game update since we've had the Nintendo Switch being added as a platform. So now you can have Battle Royale on a Nintendo Switch, which is pretty cool as well. Obviously, you can't go play it with your PS4 login though, unfortunately. So that's you have to deal with that one. But it looks like that version 4.4 is out there and ready to be used. So, and for those who are unfortunately upset that you can't go and play you got to start from scratch. I mean, or write a very harshly worded letter to Sony and say, hey, I just played this darn game for 5 months on my PS4 with you guys, and I got all this cool stuff and built up my characters all this way, and now I want to go play on the Switch, and I can't. I have to start over from scratch. I mean, that's got to be annoying. That's why you just stick with the Xbox. I'm sorry. I'm partial. I've had a PlayStation 3. I've had an Xbox 360. It's crazy. I've had an original Xbox. I've had an Xbox 360. And I've also had a PS4, and now a PS3, and then I've had Xbox One. So I went to Sony and then back to Microsoft with Xbox One. I think it was more the tiles and such that I wasn't really I was not the biggest fan of the interface on the PS3. PS4 is pretty similar. So I don't have to worry about that. But it looks like that we have to stick with the Xbox One, especially if you want to play Fortnite cross-platform. As far as E3 in general, who won the conference, Sony or Microsoft? Obviously, I think that there's a bunch of different. You can go look at the recaps. I mean, there's obviously different opinions and such on what gamers like, who likes what game and such. But I mean, we do have to say, as far as the stocks go with with Microsoft and Sony, as far as who you think is going to be having a successful quarter come next year when all those games come out, I would say that maybe it's Sony. I think Sony is a little bit better. Sony's Microsoft, I mean, the only problem they had was the fact they come out with the news that you can't cross-platform. Microsoft did have a solid show as well, but what the PS4 has is the fact that it sold more units than the Xbox One. If Xbox One can get those standalone titles and the standout titles that can help it catch up those numbers that the PS4 has put up, then we can get to the same level as there. The only problem is that there's really that high quality content is not being available on the Xbox One. Obviously, Xbox One X has something to say about that, but we're starting to get into a point here where it's tough to separate these two, as they're both giants have come out with quite a bit of content for us to soak up in the next few months here. All right, that'll wrap it up for the show, as we have gone over a bunch of stuff, whether it was an E3 review, talked about new phones, Apple stuff, obviously talking about what's going on down south and how even our tech companies can get involved into it, and how some of the CEOs, Tim Cook, can spread his wings and spread his influence and try and help those who need it the most. All right, we'll be back on Thursday with some more talk on your technology news, Apple, Samsung, we do it all here, gaming stuff as well. So be back on Thursday, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.